All right. Hey, welcome to this episode of Life on the Streets. It's the greatest show on earth. We have a very special guest today, and we'll introduce her in just a minute. But as always, I have tomfoolery time. I have a question for you, Tom.
Okay,
All right.
bring it.
So I want you to decide
Yeah.
here. Okay. So you get offered a week's worth of like the most badass training in the world, and you really want to go this. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Or you have a trip with your wife to go visit gardens and stuff like that. Which one are you going to choose?
That is a shitty question, dude. Um,
Now, remember, she could be listening to this.
let's see. Well, she's not.
Okay.
She's working right now.
Well,
And I will just make sure she doesn't watch this episode.
so that
Uh,
I know where you're going.
I'm going to take the training.
Of course you are.
I'm going to take
That
the
is
training.
just who you are.
Take the
I
training.
just knew you were going to say that
You
too.
know what? I will beg for forgiveness later,
Okay.
which is kind of my
Well,
thing anyway. So,
well, that's true. I mean,
I'll,
we just add that on the list of
I'll
things that you need to make up for.
yeah, yeah. It's a big list.
It's a
It's
big
still
list.
a long list.
Oh, I know.
I'm trying to knock it down a little bit now that I'm retired, but it's still a really long, epic list. Yeah,
She's a saint.
yeah, she is. It's like Santa Claus's Christmas list is how big that thing is. So,
And she still comes home.
uh, yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah. All right.
It's okay. I'm
Well,
gonna go with it.
okay. Well, at least you were honest. Uh-huh. I was, if
Yeah.
you'd have said your wife, I was going to give you a lot of shit because I know you better than that. So, all right. Well, we have this special guest today. Today we have Hannah Hannah. Now, I got to ask before we go here. Okay. Hannah Hannah. It's kind of like, you ever seen Goodfellas? It's like that Tommy Two Times when he says, I'm going to go out and get the paper, get the paper. Is that it? What's
It's
That's
the
like
it.
deal with
that's
that?
your gangster name.
Is that
It
your
is,
gangster name?
it is my gangster name. It's my street name.
Your street name, some street cred. Hannah Hannah.
It is my street cred. Yeah, it was a
You can call
married
me
name for years.
Stutters.
What's that?
You said you can call me Stutters.
That's right. All day long. Yeah, it was a married name. So I actually married somebody with the last name Hannah, who was from Australia. I was a professional mountain biker. He was a professional mountain biker. We met in New Jersey, and that's the end of the story. Had two kids, and I'm like, I'm keeping the name. It's a good
Hey,
business name.
that
It is.
is
It's an absolutely bomb business
so
I always
it's
tell
an
people, I'm like,
awesome
you
name.
forget the face, but not the name, right?
It's an awesome, but I have to ask, did you plan that? You went, oh God, this guy's last name is Hannah. Here we go.
Well, the funny part is when I met him, I was in a car with some other guys because we were on a road trip for mountain biking stuff. And one of the guys looks at me and he goes, Hannah, how funny would it be if you married Mick Hannah and became Hannah Hannah? It was a joke. Everybody laughed. 2 years later, here I am.
Oh my
It
God,
was Hannah Hannah.
that is perfect. I love that.
Nice.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I never know what to say. Should I just say Hannah? Should I say Hannah
Yeah.
Hannah?
It's like Madonna. I'm just Hannah.
Yeah.
H and H?
That's just,
Yeah. I get H2, I get H
H,
squared, I
I
get
love the H2 on your email. I love that. That's
yeah,
awesome. I like
yeah,
that. All
good stuff.
right. So Hannah, so you call yourself the tactical stylist, which by the way, I love. My wife is like just in love with that.
I love
So
that.
so how did this get going? How did you start this?
Well, I mean, I was born and raised on a ranch. I've been around guns my entire life. But even as a child, I was a very feminine tomboy. So I would wear my mom's wedding dress cape and go ride my horse bareback, you know? And so it's like I was always in dresses, playing in creeks, playing in mud, riding my horse, you know? So it was this balance always of just that juxtaposition of the masculine and the feminine. And then I did some with the fashion industry when I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina a couple years ago. And so I spent last year heavily in the fashion industry. I've always been into style, I've always been into dressing up. And so I
Okay.
got to utilize that in the modeling industry a little bit. But it didn't make me happy. Like staying in that realm, it's kind of a gnarly industry. And at the time, I was working on launching my gun training here in North Carolina because it's all different stuff that I had to go through based on Colorado's laws.
Right,
And
right.
so I was building that. And to be honest with you, I was ready to walk away from all of it. I was walking away from the fashion industry. I was walking away from the gun industry. I was just like, this is not working for me. And one day I got an email from a gentleman saying that he wanted me to style him and I wanted to know if he concealed carry. So it was something that opened a door of like, okay, now I can combine firearms and I can combine fashion. And then I got another
Yeah.
phone call the next day from an individual wanting to know if I was still teaching concealed carry classes. And to be honest with you, it just took off after that. And so I really just took off with a vision of, you know, I've had to learn how to not let my firearm dictate my fashion and how to be able to continue to be feminine in my fashion and enjoy wearing dresses, but still be capable of carrying my firearm and drawing my firearm and using my firearm. And so it all just culminated, you get it, that
Yeah.
word, into
Coleman, say it with me. Coleman aided.
terrible at spelling in school, right? So, um, so yeah, that's where I'm at today, and it's just it's really taken off. I didn't realize how much of a need there was in the industry for, women specific training to allow women to keep their fashion taste, keep their fashion sense, stay in their feminine nature, and still be able to protect themselves. So it's been awesome.
I think that's wonderful. So when you said, so earlier you said you got a call from a guy who wanted you to style him. What
Mhm.
does that mean? What does that style him mean? I mean, because
That
look
would
at
be
who I hang
something
out with.
you
So
could
we're
do.
not going to be, look
I'm
at you.
just saying. I'm
I
just saying.
mean, neither one of us are finding any
Hey,
runways in the near future.
That's
never know.
right. Well, he was a businessman, and so he was wanting to change his style because
Okay.
in business, how you show up matters, right?
Mhm.
And so he was wanting to change his style because, let's face it, most men's fashion is pretty boring unless you really know how to put stuff together. So he was wanting to find ways to spice up his wardrobe and just step out different into his business life. And that's where I was going to help him. And that's where it was like, okay, do you conceal carry? Because these are things I need to know so that we can create
Yeah.
style so that you can conceal carry and still keep your fashion sense.
And was he a concealed carry?
He was. Yep.
Oh, nice.
So it
Yeah.
just sort of worked out.
It did. And it did. It literally took off overnight, the whole concept. And people started calling me the tactical stylist, and I just kept it.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
what would you say? So that do you still do men or is it just strictly women?
No, I work with men and women. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
being a woman and coming at things the way that I come at them, I tend to attract women. And I've had to learn in business that typically you have to focus on one area. So my focus is women, but I recently trained a man. I have a man that's bringing his wife and daughters to train with me this weekend. So I still work with men all the time.
Great. I love that. So I love watching your videos because when you do these different outfits that you're doing, I mean, they're so creative, right? And my daughter would love you. I mean, she's at Burning Man right now.
That's awesome.
She's a fire dancer. She opened the show for Burning Man, but she
Wow.
is she is into fashion. I mean, I'm talking really out there fashion. Everything looks good on her. Just ask her.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I love how you do your shows and you come up. So how do you get the inspiration for your ideas that you're doing on the show?
Oh, I honestly don't even know how to explain that. It's been there since I was a kid. I mean, my siblings would make fun of me when I would dress myself as a kid because things didn't match, things didn't go together, but I liked it, you know?
Yeah.
So my whole thing to women is, wear what brings you joy, wear what brings you the highest excitement. And there was a period in my life when I was first a single mom and started concealed carrying and all that stuff that my firearm did dictate my fashion.
Mhm.
I would proudly say that, I'm not going to wear something that doesn't allow me to carry my firearm. I never carried purses or anything like that. And so it didn't take me long before then I quit carrying my firearm after a while, because I still wanted to wear my dresses. And so that's my big thing with women now is get up in the morning. When I go to my closet, I don't know what I'm gonna wear, but my mind just starts getting images. How am I feeling this day? What's the energy that I need to bring forward? And in my last job, I would have to get up with, am I having to fire someone today? Am I having to
Okay.
inspire a team today? Am I having to, meet with individuals in the business? Like, what is the personality I need to bring forward?
Right.
And then I would dress appropriately to bring that energy forward. Fashion's powerful, and learning to use fashion in that manner, it's the same thing as I'm sure you guys have dealt with in law enforcement. You have to know what personality traits to bring forward to de-escalate a situation or to get
Mhm.
what you want, and that's what fashion is.
Well, absolutely. It's all
Yeah,
presentation.
for sure.
Mhm.
It is how you present yourself. And I love that. So would you say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I think, overall, especially being in law enforcement for a long time, and, I mean, we would have to, everywhere we got our stuff, whatever law enforcement supplier it was, you'd go in there. And I know there were times that I would like, I'd keep an eye open, like, okay, let me see if I can find a purse for my wife to carry with, like, and they all seem to be the same kind of style of purse,
Yep.
like a lot of them seem to be very Westernish,
Yep.
like cowboyish purses or whatnot. And there was always a very limited selection. And so I think, and realistically, the other night when Rick and he brought this up earlier when we were on the open mic and we're talking to one of the other gals, and she was going off about all these different women owned either tactical supply places or trainings and whatnot. I guess maybe it's for us because we didn't really look at it, but there's a huge, I think, market out there for this type of thing. Especially when it's so blonde basic when you go to buy something as a female for concealed carry. It's always a purse and it's always like something that you just don't really like anyway, but you're going to get it because you got to carry your gun somehow, right? I mean, it's very limited in the selection on stuff. So I think, being able to bring out more for women to get their hands on is awesome.
Yeah. And
That's
all your purses are boring.
Yeah, they are for the
So
most part. And they're called satchels, by the way.
yeah,
that's
you,
right.
you can rename them all you
Man
want.
purse.
The whole, yeah, the merce. It's a merce. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a purse
Hey,
for
leave me alone.
you.
Leave me alone.
I love it. No, it's true. And, I always tell people, jokingly, not jokingly, it's like I'm looking for companies that will see the training that I do, see the work that I do, see the style that I have, because I want to work with companies to start designing stuff that breaks the mold. Because I'm with you. A lot of the concealed carry purses, I don't actually own one because I have yet to find one that I like. And
Yeah.
I have very specific style. I have ideas. I just don't have the money yet to create those ideas because it takes a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have ideas and so I use my old vintage purses and I've just found ways to make them work. And I've found ways to utilize like inside the waistband holsters that fit perfectly inside of my purses and then I train with them,
Mhm.
There you
and
go.
you'll see videos, some of my videos where I've got my little box purses and I'm popping them open and drawing them. Is it as fast as carrying inside the waistband? Absolutely not. But you never have a guarantee how a threat's going to show up. And it's not something I live my life in fear of. But at the same time, it's like you just got to practice with stuff and figure it out. But I want to create things for women that offer a selection of style and versatility,
Mhm.
different thigh holsters and stuff. Because there's really not a lot of thigh holster companies out there. I mainly run with one thigh holster, but I already know the flaws in the thigh
Right.
holster. I've ran multiple thigh holsters. And here's the thing about the women's industry, and this is what I'm working on. Women are not diving into firearms training like they should be. And that's where I'm really wanting to change the narrative and normalize firearms in a woman's life and break it down to where it's something that becomes a little bit more romanticized for
Okay.
women. And that's where, being able to wear your fashion, not letting your firearm dictate your fashion. That's where bringing in carry techniques that, is concealed carrying really that comfortable unless it's off the body? Not really,
Right.
It's always going to have a level of discomfort,
Mhm.
but bringing the fun side, bringing the sexy side, bringing in the side where if you're truly trained and capable in defending yourself, the confidence it builds, right? Calms the nervous system down. Like really educating women on the effects of being competent with your concealed carry and just changing that narrative so that, more women come into the industry because the one company, Can Concealment, I'm not really sure why they went under or why they shut their doors, but they had a really good thigh holster and they closed down shop, I think last year or the year before.
Uh,
Hmm.
It's not a lucrative business to go create a thigh holster because a woman's going to buy one thigh holster and it's going to last them a lifetime.
Right.
Right.
Unless you wear them like me. Like I had I think three can holsters that I tore through, And so getting women to really take ownership of this and not just think that it's a man's world is where that market will start to change.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I know that, the whole gun stigma, and the, concealed carry versus, gun control and all this, which I don't get into politics on. But the thing is I know that it's women have always seen this as if I want to carry a weapon, it makes them more masculine, right? They're viewed less ladylike. I mean, and honestly, that is personified in almost everything that we do. But what's interesting is you've taken a niche. If you watch if you've entertainment industry, right? The sexy female spy, right? And she's
Yeah.
always got this, well, the James Bond gun, right? But they always carry these weapons in interesting places, and people are going, oh yeah, like that's going to really be, that's really how that works and how they're going to carry that. And you've kind of brought that to reality.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. And there's a thing in the industry with, there's an ego. And that ego keeps a lot of women and a lot of men hiding and at bay. And we've created a culture of fear and intimidation inside of the gun world. You've got your trolls that are just waiting for you to do something on social media so they can just, in their mom's
Mhm.
basement. And then you've got your people that want to feel significant and who just want to comment and correct you, on something they see that's a flaw. And that's another thing that I want to take head on and be an example that people talk trash to me all the time about maybe the way I train or maybe the way that I carry a gun. And you just have to be ready to know why you're doing it and own it. And so just being an example to people and taking that stuff head on is what's going to really start getting these individuals who are afraid to come out in the open, who are afraid to go to the gun ranges because of that ego. And it's not a good ego. There's good ego, there's bad ego. And there's a really unhealthy ego inside of the gun industry. Because I get men that come to me and they come to me because they're too intimidated to go to a male. They're too intimidated to go to that guy who came out of the military. And I've trained with a lot of men, mostly men. I really don't have many women in my world that I train with. And so
Well,
I get it.
but it's interesting that you say that because, one of the things that we all have noticed, and I've seen it, um, is you have those people who come on and, the first thing they do is they're always looking for something to critique, but what we got to understand, and I think you do, is that when they do that, this is just their way of feeling relevant because what they critique, the things that they critique, as we all know, if you got perfect form and perfect technique and everything is just perfect, then you're never going to learn anything, right? We fail forward, right? We make mistakes because that's what progresses us. And I don't have a problem with people who point something out, right? It's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
It's how you point that out. But you talk about men who get intimidated by guys, guys coming out of the military. We saw that on, people think that because we retired from SWAT, that we're going to have this ego and everything is, we're going to correct you and do the knife hand when you're doing stuff. No, it's a journey. Everybody's learning. And one of our big things, and it's big, is this is not the way, it's a way. Everything is a way.
Yep.
It's never the way. If people are telling you this is the way to do it and how you're doing it is wrong, then they don't know what they're talking about anyway.
Exactly.
So
That's the part that needs to start coming forward more. And, my journey to get to where I am today has definitely been blood, sweat, tears, and blisters, a lot of ammo. And I've literally cried at times out of frustration. I'm an extreme sports athlete. I've been a professional athlete. I know what it takes to truly master something and I'm driven always to become the best. And so I look at that mentality and I look at where I came from. That was not a spoken thing when I was training, and I look at all the people that were like me, all the women that were like me, that didn't know where to start and how hard it is to know where to start and how to start. And um, my start was not normal by any means, but I started training with a sergeant of a police department in Aurora.
mhm.
And so we owned a property in Aurora, and I met him while we were working there. And then I started training with him. And I bet I took his basic pistol course 10 times because every time I'd learn something new, like I was so hungry to master the craft. And nobody ever talked like that, where it was, there is not the way, it's a way. And
Right.
so I spent years thinking that I had figured out the way because I thought that was it. Like there was one way to do things right. And then when I moved to North Carolina, as a woman, it's been really challenging to get people to take me seriously in the firearms industry. Like even though I'm a civilian, I want to be kicking indoors. Like that is just who I've been since I was a little kid, right? We owned, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Aurora. Are you pretty familiar?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Very,
you remember
very
King's
familiar.
Inn? Do you remember King's Inn, the hotel?
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
We owned that.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, right at the end, right before we fixed it up and then we sold it, and then they ended up plowing it because they couldn't control it, right?
Right.
I ran the security team that moved in when we had it and we got it controlled. It went from like 1,200 calls a year to maybe 2 calls a week. I mean, we moved hard and heavy. And so that was like a huge eye-opening experience for me. I just got thrown into the fire. And then I came to North Carolina because we had properties down over here. And I wanted people to train me and I wanted to train more and I wanted to train harder. And it's been so hard to find that as a female. It's been very challenging. And finally, I got to train with Achilles heel tactical Paul Costa. He
Okay.
came to North Carolina and I signed up for 2 of his classes. And it rocked my world because he showed me things that I had no idea existed in the industry. And he was the first person to say to me, there is no the way, it's a way. And that changed my life. And I've been doing this for years and had never heard that statement. And so that statement and that training needs to get out to the world. So when I train my students, I'm always letting them know that that is the truth. There is not the way, it is a way. And this is the way that I have found to be best. And I always explain why. But at the end of the day, it's on them. It's up to them to decide what way they're going to go with.
Well, and what works for them, because we're big ones on, you want to always improve, right? You always want to be improve at what you're doing, but I'll take a win as a win. An ugly win is a win.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
An
So
ugly
I
win.
don't care if it's an ugly win. Take the win.
Yes.
You
Amen.
know, so that's what, when we teach, not just firearms, but when we talk, we've done a lot of women's self-defense. That's the same mentality that we've run into, right? Is they feel intimidated, like they're, you know, guys get this and the gals struggle on this. No, no, no. The only reason you struggle is because you get it in your head and you allow people who don't know what they're talking about or what they're doing to tear you down on what you're doing, right? A win, good or bad, ugly, not, doesn't matter. It's a win, right?
Yep.
and embrace that win. And, I love what you're doing because I think it makes women feel like they can still be a woman. They don't lose their femininity doing something that is predominantly a male dominated industry, right?
Yes. Hmm. It
Um,
does.
same thing in law enforcement, female officers, right? There's this stigma that if you keep your feminine, now you did it to me. Look at that. You're
Get it
Femininity.
Mia,
out.
look, I learned
Say it
something
with me.
from you.
Femininity.
It's not femininity.
Femininity. Nitty.
Jeez.
Whatever.
It's not minity
Now,
either.
Husband
now
nine.
I caught
So
the disease.
they feel like they can't be a woman, right? In law enforcement, that somehow they have to mimic the guys.
Yes.
And that's always been problematic because that's what drives a lot of them back out of the industry because they just can't be who they are. When women actually bring so many tools and so many bonuses to law enforcement, they're if you sit down and you know how to teach them, they're phenomenal students and they pick things up so much faster than guys. Right. But I'm just saying, so I love that you've taken that. So now how are you driving that? How are you driving that out there? How are women coming to you?
I mean, right now, a lot of it's through social media and just putting out the information, putting out the videos. It's been definitely a slow start. I think a lot of businesses are. And I talked to other instructors and we just went through a really hot North Carolina summer. And so business is definitely slow. Um, but it's been a lot of word of mouth. It's been, the videos that I put out, it's been going to events. I'm going to start competing. So that's going to be another way that it gets out. And it's just showing up and being congruent with who you say that you are.
Right.
I did an event, just a local small action pistol event, and I brought my son, who I've been training, and he killed it. And, he was up against guys who've been doing it a lot, and he was beating them. And it was opening doors to where the instructor that was even hosting the event came up to me and was asking me questions. He said, "Okay, so when you train people, how are you teaching them to do their recoil control?" Which is an ongoing process for me, to learn how to control recoil better as a female. And, so things like that start to spread the word. It's really just making sure you get out there, that you see and be seen, and put yourself out there as a female. And, for me, it's showing up feminine. I go to these events and I've got my red lipstick on, I've got my hair fixed nice, and I'm loaded, and it's a matter of showing up. Let me step back for a second. When I was a professional mountain biker, that's when I really discovered that, because in professional extreme sports, I was a free ride mountain biker, so downhill and stuff like
Hmm.
that. It's very male dominated sport, and a lot of the women are like what you're saying. They're very in that strong, little bit more masculine state. It attracts that. And it's a long story how I got here, but one day I woke up and knew that my calling in life, just because of the way I was as a child, is that I'm supposed to stay feminine, but bring this inspiration that you can still be capable. Like, I love the masculine energy. I totally enjoy men. I have no desire to compete with them, absolutely no desire to beat them down. I think that true masculinity empowers true femininity, and true femininity empowers true masculinity. It goes together. And women need that balance of the masculine to stay in their feminine. I can geek out on this stuff hardcore,
I love
but
it, but
it's
it makes
like,
sense.
yeah, it does make sense. And when we ran the property in Aurora, the nights that I wasn't working, I would stress out all night just knowing my guys were gonna shoot somebody. So stressful. And my guys would call me. I got a call. I remember one specific one at 2 a.m. And they're like, dude, they're like, we cannot get this tenant to like behave. And they're like, will you please talk to him? So they put him on the phone and I dealt with it like that. And they're like, dude, when you're not here, shit goes south. And they're like, you just can never leave. And what I learned through studying and understanding things is the feminine energy plays a valuable role in certain environments when it comes to de-escalation. It
Oh,
can also,
absolutely.
and we need to begin to really understand that. and to teach women and educate them that, look, your feminine energy, just being present is enough to de-escalate certain situations. Now, it can escalate certain situations depending on that person's background with females or if it's another woman. But it's a powerful thing when women understand the power they hold. They don't have to be big and strong and able to choke someone out, but their energy and their presence can sometimes be enough to bring things down.
Hmm.
And I think that we really got to start educating more on that energy level.
Well, and I think, and this has just been my experience, okay, having worked around women in law enforcement and stuff. I think that women bring they bring a sense of calm because I find that women stay calm more than men do.
Yep.
And there's some of that is that testosterone that need to is like I said, my wife calls it that chicken chesting, right? Everybody wants to chicken chest, right? But women don't do that, right?
Right.
But it's natural. First thing to do, guys, they chicken chest, right? They puff up, they chicken chest. It's sort of in our nature. And there's going to be a natural escalation from that. Whereas women don't do that. And it's hard for I mean, you get the guy who's on drugs or drinking and doing that type of stuff, right? So there's sort of dysregulation there. But most men, what ends up happening is I couldn't bring myself, and most men I know, they don't chicken chest to a woman because it looks ridiculous, right? Women stay calm. So you don't chicken chest because you're not accomplishing anything. So they actually do come down to your level most of the time.
Yep.
Whereas he shows up on a call, aside from running his mouth, he's chicken chesting, right?
Whatever, dude.
So, so I take that back. He never runs his mouth. He just chicken
Yeah,
chests
whatever.
a lot.
Yeah. I had my 23-year-old cops that did that shit.
That's right. I remember. We all had them. We all
She
had them.
saved a video this morning showing a situation like that. This dude chicken chested and he got bitch slapped pretty hard.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And that usually
kept running his
happens.
mouth. Yep.
It
And
usually
that's
happens.
usually what happens.
So are you doing now? I was kind of looking at some of the stuff that you do, right? And you do, I know you're really big into the firearm stuff, but you also talk about situational awareness. And I love that because we teach situational awareness. It's that whole situational awareness, decision making, use of force, de escalation, that stuff. These are our passions. So when I saw that you do that, talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going to lead into that from what you were saying. So situational awareness, people ask like, how did you get here? And I've looked back and I have to say, growing up on a ranch, your life is situational awareness. You're either going to get bit by a rattlesnake in Colorado, kicked by a horse, trampled by a cow, or beat up by a sibling. Like it's just always looking over your shoulder. Like my brother's big joke with me is he's been training me my whole life. You know,
Okay.
I have PTSD from him because he's always beating on me. So, um, that lifestyle, my dad always taught us survival skills. He always taught us to be situationally aware because we could get lost in the mountains herding cattle and sheep. And I think that just translated over into my everyday life. When I train women, my desire, even with guns, it's about so much more than guns. It's about mental, emotional, and physical well-being.
Yes.
Mhm.
I train women, and when I say this to people, it's always like this, what? But I train women, even in my situational awareness classes, about their menstrual cycle. Because if in order to be situationally aware, you have to be self-aware. And
Yes.
I would encourage this with law enforcement, with security, anything. And I teach this when I have taught security companies and stuff. I teach the women about their menstrual cycle because I know at certain times in the month for me, when I'm close to the end of my cycle, I will chicken chest. You better
Yes.
believe it. Like I am super aggressive. Like I can feel it, you know, very irritable. We have to understand those things because we can get ourselves or other people into trouble if we're not aware as women of these hormonal cycles. Most everything in life is not personal, it's energy, right? And we have to learn to understand what's happening around us energetically in our bodies and everything in order to feel the feelings without becoming the feelings.
Yes.
And even for women in situational awareness, if especially my young women, I talk to them about their luteal phase, the phase where they're fertile, right? Sex drive goes up, energy goes out to the people around you on a biological subconscious level. Men are going to be more attracted to you. You're going to be more attracted to certain types of men, which may not always be the best, because at the end of the day, we're animals. And teaching women to understand this and know their phase, know their cycle, is going to help them to know the best times to do things. When a woman is in that first phase of her cycle, that's when she should be kicking ass. That's when she should be doing hard training. That's when I hit my hardest cardio days. That's when I push myself the most, to where the end phases, I just want to crawl up in a sweater and hide from the world. Got to
Yeah.
understand that stuff. You have to educate women. I wish the world functioned a little bit more around that. I think we've done a big disservice to women to not understand this stuff.
I love that. So our principle with situational awareness, our philosophy has always been, so situational awareness goes so far beyond just your current environment, right? It's the overall environment. So when we talk situational awareness, and it's not just with men, it's with women too, is you hit on it as being self-aware, but you got to be socially aware also.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, and so for officers, and it's the same for women who aren't in law enforcement, but who carry concealed, is being aware of not only what I'm capable of doing, but who I'm with. What are they capable of doing? Okay, are they? Do I need to be able to protect them? Are they going to protect themselves? Are they physically fit to do what needs to be done? Am I physically fit to to be able to do what needs to be done? Right. I mean, all these things that come in there. You talked about mental. When we talk about you got to be well mentally. So, are you having problems at home? Are you having problems at work? Are you financially strapped? I mean, are there things that are distracting you? And from a female perspective, right? Because there's a lot of I can't remember what my daughter calls it, my younger daughter, but when you're not comfortable in your own body, she
Body
there's
shaming?
it's not body shaming because she's not dysmorphia
Body
or
body dysphoria?
dysphoria or dysmorphia, but you know what we're talking about. So where they're really not comfortable in their own skin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have
I
not gotten
like
a
how we're
single
getting through
word
this.
right. But you know what? It's like smoke signals. We're all
You're
getting
doing
there.
good.
It's charades.
You're doing good.
So, but they're not comfortable in their own skin, and if they're not comfortable in their own skin, that is a problem situationally, right?
It is 100%.
So those are things, and I love that you teach that stuff,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people that don't understand that. When you ask somebody to tell you what situational awareness is, they all go back to I'm looking around me and I'm looking at what's going on around me
Yeah,
and
they
I'm
think
looking
it's
for
this.
I'm looking for the boogeyman behind every bush,
Mhm.
and I what just doesn't what stands out that's wrong in this environment. I love that because that's a basic situational
Right.
awareness foundation, but
Mhm.
you got to go beyond that, right?
You do, and that's where I tell people, like with my firearms training and stuff, it's about so much more than guns. Because, for an example, I just trained a woman recently. Her husband hired me for the CWP class, and in all of my classes, even with the CWP, I'll teach the group together for the legal portion for a day. And then the second day is a private lesson. So they sign up for whatever day works for them because one-on-one intuition is hands down like the most important thing, right? And we lose touch with our intuition because we quit listening to ourselves or listening to other people. I talk about this in my situational awareness class. It's religion, it's societal shaming, it's all kinds of stuff, right? And we quit listening to ourselves. I know Gavin DeBecker gets into a lot of that in the book The Gift of Fear, which is a phenomenal book. And so, when I take women, I just had this woman sign up. She was a survivor of the Las Vegas shooting.
Okay.
I didn't know this when she signed up. So she came into the class and we had the ability to talk and she shared some things with me. And I've just attracted individuals like this, which is the kind of individuals I love attracting. And For the most part, most of us have some sort of trauma lying deep inside of us. And when I found this out, I knew when I took her out to the gun range how much deeper we were going to go. And she ended up telling me it was the best, it was better than any therapist conversation she's ever had because I've studied this stuff. So when we went out to the gun range on the drive, I had her tell me the whole story, all the details. And they were very graphic details. She saw people die right in front of her while she was fleeing for her life. There were moments of shame where she couldn't help people and she wanted to help people, right? The survivor's remorse stories that many of us have known. And so we got out to the gun range and I knew exactly what I needed to do with her. So I took her through something called heart mind coherence breath work. So I sat her down and we did this. We probably worked on this for about 30 minutes and I walked her through that journey that she went on. And she's doing this breathing technique and I'm talking her through things and gunshots are going off in the background because we're at the gun range. I wanted that. I wanted all of that because I'm trying to reprogram her nervous system to the sound of gunfire, to things like that. I'm giving her tools to get herself out of those moments when she falls back into that trauma because she would tell me about very PTSD moments where she just all of a sudden tunnel vision and she would just get locked back into that moment. She couldn't breathe, her heart rate would go up and she'd be stuck in that moment and then come out of it. And so I taught her the things that I know to teach people. And then we went through the day of shooting, but I taught her about her nervous system. So when I train people, I'll use cold plunging. Cold plunging is a phenomenal tool to teach people about their nervous system because the moment they get into that icy water, they hit the sympathetic state. That moment of, when we gasp in, that's
Right.
our nervous system getting ready to fight and flight. And so they get in the water and they panic and you just see that sympathetic state. And then I make them, they sit down into the water and I keep talking to them. And there's a moment when typically it's when I get them to take the first breath through the nose and they finally hear me and I say, okay, breathe in through the nose. And then they exhale and they fall into the parasympathetic state. That's the state that you want to train people in. That's the state as a firearms instructor or any instructor. You want to get people to the parasympathetic state. And you just got to keep pushing through until they hit that. And then once they hit that, they're in the conscious awareness state. And then they're able to control the fear. They're able to move through the fear. They're able to sustain and retain all the information you're teaching them. So, like, that's what I do. And by the end of the day, she was the worst student I ever had shaking. I mean, she was shaking
I can
so
imagine.
bad. And by the end of the training, the last words out of her mouth was, "This is so fun." And I mean, I had her moving, I had her drawing from concealment, I had her transitioning between targets. Like, she was killing it. She shot 800 rounds that day. And, it's just like, just teaching people about the nervous system. I think, honestly, that's a huge key when it comes to training anyone.
Oh, I think you're spot on. I love your philosophy. I mean, you sound like I mean, from what you're talking here is you've got such a level of expertise in this, but you can also relate. So that's the thing is having that ability, right, to relate and have that expertise because expertise can be very intimidating to people,
Yeah,
right? So
very.
being able to relate is I think of the bigger key there is, and you seem to be able to do that.
Yeah.
There
I'd
was a
love to be.
conversation going on LinkedIn that I was looking at and I kind of got in and then I kind of pulled myself out of, but
Tell.
well, no, it was talking about that. It was talking about fear
Yeah.
and why so many people, and it's a lot of cops. Why they dread training on the range or they dread training in general, right? Is because there's this fear and they never harness that fear. They don't understand. They let the fear control them. They don't control the fear, right? And instructors don't recognize that. So what ends up happening is that's when it starts to kind of go down that rabbit hole where the instructor is in your face and they're screaming at you and they're getting frustrated with you because you're not doing what they're asking you to do. There's this, you're just not getting it. How many times have we heard that? Well, they're just not getting it.
Mm.
Okay. If they're not getting it, it's not them, it's you.
100%.
So
Yeah.
I hate when somebody tells me they're just not getting it.
Yep,
Okay. Well, that's a big red flag for you, not them. Okay.
it is.
And you seem to have a handle on that.
I do, and I have to say, with individuals, it's like school. I really struggled through high school. I am not your book smart kid. And I struggled because I learned differently. And that's one of the things, that's why it's so important to me to, as much as possible, train people on a one-on-one basis. Yes, it makes it more expensive, but you're going to get so much more out of it. I've taken classes recently with instructors and they're group classes. I don't walk away with as much as I would have with one-on-one. So it's
Mm-hmm.
worth the cost if people can do the one-on-one because that's where I get to function intuitively with your energy. You're going to share stories with me about something traumatic, right? I've had people fire that first shot out of the gun and tears come streaming down their face. And I'm like, I stop them and I'm like, what is that? Like, where's this coming from? And I find out a story. One of them was a guy that was a doctor, and he watched a guy die from a gunshot wound. It was one of his first patients ever in an ER situation. And that came out of him when he shot that first shot. And he's like, just the power that's in this, that I've seen what it can do. And so we were able to work through that. And then the thing is you got to keep people moving. Don't let them sit in the fear. And I say to people, stay with the fear. In a dream, for instance, when you get startled awake, when you're jumping out of the fear, one of the most powerful things that takes place on a subconscious level is in a dream when you actually learn to stay with the fear. You don't wake up out of the fear, but you learn to stay with the fear. And that's what people need to understand. You're never going to necessarily conquer the fear, but you learn to stay with the fear. It almost becomes a companion that you learn to work around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and you and I have had this conversation and we've kind of talked this with training when we train officers and stuff is, that the thing about fear is fear's natural and fear's not a bad thing. So we've demonized the word fear, right?
Yep.
So if you
It has a
have,
tendency to keep you alive.
yeah, exactly. It does. It allows you to make sound tactical decisions if you harness it right. But if you let it overwhelm you, it'll get you killed.
Well,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but we've demonized it because nobody wants to have fear. And then what ends up happening is you have these people who are afraid to say that they're in fear, right? That they have they fear failing. They fear, engaging. They fear this, they fear that, and all these little triggers, like you're talking about, things that trigger them. And we got to get away from teaching people that fear is bad.
yep.
You know,
I agree. That's the ego side that's unhealthy. That's the ego side, even in the gun industry, that's unhealthy. And I love expressing that to people that I still feel fear sometimes when I go to the gun range. I just went out to Virginia for an event and I felt fear showing up to that gun range, but the fear was ego based.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't life and death based. It was purely ego based. I was afraid to fuck up and look a fool or not be taken seriously. And, those are the things I think also we need to be teaching in classes with, anybody that's in law enforcement or anything like that with guns is you have to know yourself to lead yourself. You have to know your patterns and know what you're actually afraid of and call it out in the open. Man, when you shine light out in the open that, okay, I'm afraid that my ego is going to get hammered because I'm going to screw up and miss a shot while everybody's watching, you can start making light of it and start having some fun with it and then push
Mm-hmm.
past it.
exactly. I mean, a great example. So you can talk to this too. So I have a fear of heights.
Oh God.
Okay. So I have well, and spiders. Gotta throw that out there. Okay.
Okay, yes.
So two extremes, and I'll share this with you. Okay. So my fear of heights is we have in SWAT we repel. We have multi-story buildings. We got to repel, right? You got to be able to repel. You got to be trained and proficient in that. But I don't like
Except Rick.
except for Rick, who does it. But then I invent cuss words going down. I mean, it is, and I'm that guy that gets to the edge, like especially if I'm in.
Once he gets started,
Yeah,
which generally takes a while.
There's no returning once you get started. You are stuck.
I'm better on a traditional rappel than I am doing it, Australian style going down. Right. But either way, usually what ends up happening is somebody has to literally do the, oh, I know you're afraid. You're
Yes,
and
for
then
real.
and then I'm inventing cuss words as I'm going down. You mother, yeah. Okay. But you fight through it, right?
Yeah.
And you
And
keep
that,
showing up.
and that was always a training because realistically, there was no way in hell we were going to put him on a real world op and have him rappel off a building.
Not going to happen. It's never going to happen because
It wouldn't have happened. He'd have just been at the top L position, not moving.
It's so funny, man.
And then we'd have to come up and get him when the mission was over.
I have no problem going in the door. I have no problem going in, doing all these things. But you put me on a rooftop, and that's just not happening. Yeah,
It
at least
cracks
not
me up.
easy.
Climbing was a huge part of my story. Like I'm working on writing a little post, and I'm going to be putting out a video talking about my method of training and where it came from. During COVID, we went to my family's in Colorado and South Fork, and my brother and I were staying at a house right on the Rio Grande River. He is a breath master, so he's amazing at biology and all this stuff. So he was the one that really got me into this and taught me a lot, and then I've just ran with it. And so we were cold plunging in the Rio Grande River every morning. We were doing breath work, and then he's a huge rock climber.
Okay.
I've never led a climb. And if you know what leading a climb is, it means, you're clipping in on your own and then you're having to climb to the next bolt, which could be
To put it so the people
5,
can follow
10,
you.
12 feet, Jesus. And if you fall in between those, you're going to fall potentially 30 feet. Like, I've never wanted to lead a climb. I am not it's weird. I'll jump out of an airplane. I'll Aussie rappel. I will rappel, but I fall on a rock climb. Like, this girl's not doing that. I don't know why. I hate it. And so during COVID, I kind of was in a bit of a slump, and he was taking me through cold plunge and breath work. And one day he looked at me and he said, "Kiddo, you're like me." And he said, "You're not pushing yourself. And if you're not pushing yourself, you're not happy." And so he said, "You're going to lead a climb today." And I was like, mm-mm. But I did it, right? I stayed with the fear and I led my first climb. And my brother surprised me because when I got to the third or second place to clip in, he's like, "All right, you're gonna let go and fall now." And I was vibrating and I was terrified. And he said, "Kiddo, this is just like the cold plunge." He said, "You're gonna have to talk to yourself. You're not gonna die." Like, I have this whole thing that I teach people about talking to their nervous system in these spaces that they're in of fear. So I'm standing on the rock and I'm thinking about the cold water and how my sympathetic system is freaking out right now and I gotta fall. So, anyways, when you say making up words, you better believe I made up a lot of words. So
You do.
there was
They
a
come
rock.
fast.
Oh my God. There was a guy climbing on a route next to us, and he's got his helmet on, and I mean, full kitted out. And here's little old me over here, no helmet, like nothing. Like, that's just not the way we roll. And I'm sitting there climbing way up and falling 20 feet, letting the rope catch me, screaming cuss words the whole way down. And my brother made me keep doing this until I quit screaming on the way down.
Oh,
And so I bet I did it 6, 7, 8 times. And I finally got to the place where I could fall and nothing would come out of me. And then that's when I knew, like, my nervous system had calmed down. I could move on. And then he let me finish the route. But
I'll tell you right now, if I fell, a lot of things would be coming out of me.
not out your mouth.
Everywhere. But see, that's the thing, as I'm not afraid of climbing. I'm afraid of the coming back down part. Yeah.
I get it.
If I can climb it, I don't have a problem. But I know it's the other direction that bothers me.
Like they say, it's not the fall that kills you. It's the impact.
Yeah, it's the sudden stop. It's the sudden stop that kills you. Yeah.
It is.
But I'll be honest with you, I don't know what you're afraid of because I haven't seen. Guys like him intimidated me only because we would get up there, and of course they're all shit talkers, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're all shit
No other
talkers.
way.
Well, but I'd done a lot of rappelling prior to getting on SWAT anyway. So
I,
it's not like rappelling wasn't a big deal. Like
I,
I went to air assault school in the military and all that stuff. So it was like
That's awesome.
I did a lot of rappelling, but I hated like I still don't like I don't like I hate flying.
okay.
I hate flying.
Not fun.
Even going to airborne school, I hated flying. The only benefit was I have a parachute on, so if the
Uh,
plane goes down, I could still jump. And if anything, just pull my reserve. Even if it's, my static line's not hooked up, whatever, I could still pull my reserve and I'll probably live. But like every time I got to the door of the aircraft, I'd look and I'd go, I got to reevaluate my life decisions right now.
For real.
This is the dumbest ass thing on the planet. Why am I doing this? And then it go and out the door. All right, it's super cool coming down. That's awesome. You're like, woo, it's nice and quiet. It's peaceful. And
This was worth it.
then you're like, all right. And they're like, we're doing it again. Shit.
Right.
There we go again.
I used to get assigned to go do these interdictions um, in Colorado. I don't know if you ever seen, but so you load up on a Blackhawk and you're out and you're looking for before marijuana was legal, but all these illegal grows and they would. So it was a part of a DEA HIDA program, but I would get assigned to go do this, right? And I'm on this Blackhawk and you hook up and you have to hang out. You're literally hanging out the door so you're looking down.
That's so much fun.
Oh, it's not because I actually got invited back. I mean, I got assigned, but I got invited. So the same pilots would do this.
Probably for
Okay?
entertainment
They
value.
did because what they said, because I didn't realize they could hear me. Okay. So I'm hanging out the door and they got their thing. And apparently they're just up there laughing and they start banking when they don't have to because I am screaming so many different cuss words and I'm talking to myself. And I'm like, oh, I just peed. I just peed. And they just were dying up there.
I would be.
And
I would
I don't
love
know that I
that.
ever, I never saw anything because I was so busy screaming and worrying about, did I mess myself? Did I pee? I'm just,
Yeah, I would eat that up. I would eat that up. But that's
no.
hilarious.
That's a ton of fun, dude. That's a
So
blast.
when these ops would come up, first thing they'd say is, hey, can we have Anderson? It's like, no, I hated it. Everybody else was kind of like him. They're all, hell, I'll go. I'm,
Hell yeah.
oh, hell no.
They picked the kid peeing himself in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, that they always did. They just think, I guess they thought I was funny,
I
you
think it's
know?
I would laugh. Make
Mhm.
my day.
I would too.
I'm glad. So
I know why they picked you.
yeah, it's not good. And I didn't, of course, I didn't realize they could hear me.
I definitely put a
That's
good
so
foot in.
awesome. That's even
Don't
better. They should have recorded it.
Oh
Mhm.
my God. And they would, once we landed and I'm getting off, and my nervous system is in overdrive. So everything is like, I'm getting off, and then once I get on the ground, I'm like, oh. And, then I look at them and I go, well, that wasn't so bad. And they're just laughing at me when I'm like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then
You
finally they
should
told me,
totally see if
we
they
can
recorded
hear
that.
you. What do you mean you can hear me? Well, that's a mic. Oh, yeah. I thought it
Oh
was
shit.
I thought it was my ear protection. So I don't, yeah.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah. See, I'd have been like, can we get lower and faster?
yeah,
Like,
no,
let's
no,
do
no.
that.
We can get lower, but we don't need to go faster.
Like helicopters, I love flying in helicopters. Airplanes is what I can't stand. Helicopters are awesome.
Airplanes are
And
too
I don't know
boring.
why. I don't know why that
Boring?
is.
Yeah,
That
I
should
love
be it.
turbulence. Like when the flights get really turbulent, it just makes me smile. But helicopters, hell yeah.
Oh, they're so much
Scare the
fun.
shit out of me. Do
They're
your
so
best.
much fun.
All right. Well,
It's like a roller coaster ride.
we all know who the
Like the best roller coaster
we
ride.
all know who
Right?
we all know who the wuss here is. So, but I'm okay with that. You know what? I'm secure.
Won't name names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Glad you are.
I'm okay
Good-
with that.
good.
You know what?
Good for you. That's
My
awesome.
mama didn't raise an idiot.
That you're
Right. Don't let the ego in.
No, there's no ego there. My ego's going, you're an idiot.
Love that.
So, so what do you got going on? So what do you got going on in the future?
Let's see. Well, obviously, firearms instruction. There's quite a few things going on. I've been talking with the Women's Gun Rights Association. So I may be working with them in the near future. I ran for a political office in 2020. that was another reason my nervous system was super tapped out. And so, you know, I'm willing to take on things that keep our gun rights alive, so there's some talk there. We'll see what happens. It's going to events, it's competing, it's teaching people, developing my craft, and then the mocktails and mace event that I do. Like I'm
I love that.
really wanting to branch that out. Like I will travel, to different states and all kinds of stuff to teach these classes. And so I really want to get people aware of that so that, they understand, like I'll fly in, drive in, as long as we have a big enough class and, if they can help cover some of that stuff. And then I also have a big drive to help train security companies, because I don't have a law enforcement background and stuff like that. I can't really dabble in that side of things unless, they ask me to specifically help train some women, which I've been asked before. But like I just trained a group in New Mexico, a security company in New Mexico. So I'm certified through Byrna. You guys probably know what Byrna is, that less lethal launcher.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm certified through Byrna to be able to teach that to law enforcement
Okay.
and security groups and stuff. So I went and taught a 3-day class to a group of security guards, just coming from that environment. The whole reason my brother and I started our own security company for the properties he was purchasing was because security companies are a mess. And I've talked to people even about, law enforcement too. I've been around some law enforcement that I was appalled at the lack of training, the lack of
Oh, yeah.
so much. I don't even know what to say. It's appalling. And
Mhm.
so, I could start with security companies. So I went there and trained them. So I'm willing to do consulting with security companies and things like that. And it was phenomenal because, team culture is everything when you're building a strong team. I got to witness that with the team that we had. And then that's what I've done in my brother's company since, is build strong teams inside of the properties that we own with property management. And so I love taking that culture to the world of safety. So things like that. I'm being asked to potentially come and put a team together in Phoenix for a couple businesses. So that's
Nice.
happening soon, because like I said, I love building the teams, the cultures, the processes, and, making sure that we're doing something that is congruent, congruent
Mhm.
with what it means to be somebody that provides safety to the people.
Well, wonderful. And I know you're now a member of ADB, and you're going to be participating in some of their stuff, and I love that. Um, some of these women's events that they're putting on is going to be great.
Yeah.
What if you had something to say to all the women out there, whether you know law enforcement, civilian, housewife, professional, whatever, right? What would you want to say to them?
First of all, it would be my tagline, train to be dangerous, darling. It's like
Okay.
we can still be darling, we can still be feminine and be very capable of protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and those around us. Um, it's kind of like World War II. When our men went off to war, women had to step up and do things that we needed to do, things that we had never done before. And there may be a time that we're called on again. And I don't believe that we're too far from that time in some way, shape, and form. And it's like women need to be able to have the backs of our men come home and still put on a pot of chili, Like I'm old school like that. I love that dichotomy. And, women need to be training. We can't be dangerous. We're just going to be dangerous in a bad way if we're not training ourselves. But we can train to be dangerous, by utilizing our body, our minds, our emotions, by becoming situationally aware, by healing ourselves. There's a lot I could say around that. I know that's not
I,
exactly suave, but it just comes into the whole train to be dangerous, darling.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that line, that tagline.
Thank you.
I'm going to start saying that to you.
Okay. Please don't,
Please don't.
especially not in public.
It's not fun in private.
Rick, I'll send you a shirt that you can give to him, or a patch. You sneak it on the back of his vest.
No,
Oh,
I need.
you gotta do
Darling.
that. You
That's
gotta
all I
do
need.
that. I love that. Yo.
He's
So,
like, uh-huh.
I love that. So
Thanks.
I,
Thanks, Anna.
how do people get a hold of you? How do they reach you?
So hannahhannah.com. And I always tell people it's like the world's longest palindrome, HANNAH.com. So they can reach out to me through my website. There's a contact link. Social media, my Instagram is the Hannah Hannah, and they can DM me there. My email is the letter 2 at hannahhannah.com. LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn, I'm under the Tactical Stylist, or you can find me under Hannah Hannah. Social media is hard because they shadow ban you when you represent guns, and that happens a lot to me. But those are probably the best ways. And then my female oriented company is Fem9, FEMNINE. So fem9.com is going to be opening up in the next couple weeks, and I'll be selling, my apparel. And the website's going to be dedicated to women's equipment. It'll be for men too, because some of it crosses over for men.
He
But
does.
my goal, just having a heyday with you. So goal is that anything that I sell on this website is something that I have tested, I have tried, and I approve. So that when any woman comes to my website to purchase something off of my website, they know that it's something that Hannah Hannah has tested, and I'm not just selling it because a company's giving me a good deal. Even equipment that I test, I have companies reaching out to me now, sending me things to test. If I don't like it, I'm going to tell you,
Good.
and I'm either going to make you fix it, or it could, you might get a video put out that you don't like. So,
Mhm.
I'm going to be very real with people about this. I'm not messing around.
Good for you.
Right on.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's
So
outstanding.
first of all, I thought your shirt said, I was thinking Fem Ninja.
Fem
I
Ninja.
couldn't-
Well, maybe.
I was like,
Maybe
Fem
that's the
Ninja.
next one.
The problem is sometimes I'm easily distracted, and in my head I kept running through this. Is it ninja?
I kind of
Feminine?
like that.
So
So it's
I,
feminine, just without the middle I.
I,
Femnine.
yeah, I was gonna try and help you out and say you don't have your glasses on, so you can't really see that well.
true.
But
It's
you went a
true.
different route.
I did, but I could have used it. I just didn't have my glasses, but I
Yeah.
didn't.
It's
I saw
generally
this coming. I
it's
thought, what
generally
the
the better
hell?
one to go with.
Rick, we're gonna
Step
give
in
it to
front of
you
it.
because we both have messed up words today. So all
Well,
good.
yeah, but you started it, just so you
I
know.
did start it.
So,
It's contagious.
well, I love that. So I would tell people listening here, hook up with Hannah. Obviously phenomenal instructor, phenomenal female motivator and empowerment. Um, and I can't say enough. We fully endorse you. So
Absolutely.
Thanks,
that
man.
so
Wow.
that means that you get the endorsement of two nobodies.
Oh, you're somebody's. Everybody's
So,
significant.
but so for that nobody crowd, you're covered with
That's
us.
The rest of the nobodies are gonna know who you are.
That is right. I have loved having you on the show. I hope
Yeah.
you've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed being on. You guys were fun.
So,
Yeah.
what I'm going to say here is find us at adb.com, ADB Nation, join, get some great training, experts like Hannah. I mean, this is stuff that you pay big dollars for right here, and it's real. It's real training. It's not fluff. We're not talking about somebody who's coming up with gimmicks. There's no gimmicks, it's just real world training. I love that.
Rick's going to attend a class. We can.
I am going to
shoot
attend a
You can
class.
draw
Oh,
from a
yeah.
skirt.
Well, you know what?
I need some man that will do that. I'm serious. I'm
wear a
looking.
skirt.
Rick is your guy.
I want a
I'm-
guy to come out and
He's
wear
your
a
guy.
skirt, and I want to teach them how to draw from thigh holsters so that they can tell men, because men are always trying to give me advice on drawing from a pistol, and I'm like, or from a thigh holster, and I'm like, I need a guy to come out and do it with me.
You probably won't want me because nobody's going to get any training out of that because they're going to be so busy a lot. Because I am a soup sandwich.
Does he have to wear heels?
Yes.
Outstanding. He's
Heels gotta
all
be
over
there,
it.
man.
Oh my
He's all
God.
over it.
Hey,
and I'm going to come in video.
I'm not going to
I've
lie.
got some unicorn glasses that I
I-
make everyone wear at some point.
Awesome.
I may have worn a skirt
Oh, we're
once or
gonna figure
twice in
this
my
out.
life too. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
don't
Figure
doubt
this
that.
out.
I don't know that for
A
sure.
kilt doesn't count.
You know, I've worn a kilt.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Just
but-
saying, you can't call it a skirt.
No,
So
but I
you
may have
wore-
worn a skirt at some point too. I'm not sure.
I believe.
So
No doubt.
That one
let
time
us
in
know when
college.
you're training. We'll come out. I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Man, I will be in Colorado the end of the year.
That's
You
right.
guys can come and up to.
Oh,
my ranch.
hold on. Outdoor range in the end of the year. I'm not wearing a skirt. I'm just telling you.
Okay, I'll give you that.
No, holler at
That's
us.
not-
Holler at us when you come out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will for sure.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
that would be awesome.
It'd be great to meet you in person.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool. And we could go do some Aussie rappelling, and we.
Oh yeah, in a
the ranch.
skirt.
There you
In
go.
a skirt.
In a skirt.
Don't tempt me. I will do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That'd go over really well for Rick.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I'm going to get arrested for so many different things. I love that. Let's just stack the charges.
They're coming.
Right on.
Well, thanks for joining us. I've had a great time. I hope our
Yeah.
listeners really enjoy this. I really enjoyed your input, your insight. Phenomenal stuff.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you're doing. I love it.
I
Anything
appreciate
to
it.
end with?
None.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Can't wait to hook up with you. And I don't know, wear a skirt, I guess.
Yep.
Train to be
Yeah.
dangerous.
There you
There you
go.
go.
There you go. That's going to be my menin. No, that doesn't even work.
Yeah, just
Never
don't
mind.
even try.
I can't even do it.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Guys,
All
have a
right,
good one.
You too. Bye-bye.